MP Board 10th English Prose 2023 VVI Important Question with Solution। यहाँ इंग्लिश 10वीं एग्जाम 2023 के लिए न्यू ब्लूप्रिंट पर आधारित ग्रामर मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन दिए गए हैं। ये महत्वपूर्ण क्वेश्चन स्टडी मटेरियल के रूप में तैयार किए गए, जो आपके पेपर के लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है और ये मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन तैयारी को और बेहतर बना सकते हैं। मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन क्यू 1. Why did Lencho say that the raindrops were like new coins? Answer. Lencho's crops were ready for harvest. As raindrops would help him in getting a better harvest, resulting in more prosperity, Lencho compares them with new coins. Q. Though, how did the rain change? What happened to Lencho's fields? Answer. The rain changed into hailstones as a strong wind began to blow and huge hailstones began to fall along with the rain. All the crops in Lencho's field got destroyed because of the weather conditions. Q. Team. What were Lencho's feelings when the hail stopped? Answer. Lencho was filled with grief after the hail stopped as everything was ruined and there was nothing that he could feed his family with. He could see a bleak future for him and his family. Q. 4. Who or what did Lencho have faith in? What did he do? Answer. Lencho had firm faith in God. He believed that God sees everything, even what is deep in one's conscience, and helps everyone in one's problems. He wrote a letter to God demanding 100 pesos from him to sow his field again. Q. 5. Who reads the letter? Answer. Postmaster read the letter. Q. Chair. Where did the ceremonies take place? Name any public buildings in India that are made of sandstone. Answer. The ceremonies happened within the campus of the Union Building of Pretoria and it was attended by dignitaries and leaders of the many nations. In India, Rashtrapati Bhavan and Red Fort are buildings made from red sandstone. Q. 7. Can you say how the 10th of May is an autumn day in South Africa? Answer. As South Africa is in the southern hemisphere, the month of May is in the autumn season. Thus, the 10th of May is an autumn day. Q. 8. What does Mandela thank the international leaders for? Answer. Mandela felt very privileged to welcome the international leaders at the swearing-in ceremony because not too long ago, the South Africans were considered outlaws. He, thus, thanks all of them for having come to witness the historical ceremony. This was a gesture of international recognition to a newly born free democratic nation and it could be considered as a common victory for justice, peace and human dignity. Q. No. What do the military generals do? How has their attitude changed and why? Answer. The highest military generals of South African Defence Force saluted Mandela and pledged their loyalty, which was of great significance, as during apartheid era they would have arrested him. The change in their attitude was because of the struggle and sacrifices put in by many heroes of South Africa. Q. Thus, why was the young seagull afraid to fly? Answer. The young seagull was very scared for his first flight. His parents were encouraging him but he wasn't able to muster up courage. He thought his wings wouldn't support him and he will fall. Q. 11. What compelled the young seagull to finally fly? Answer. The young seagull was very hungry. It was his hunger that ultimately compelled and encouraged him to fly. Q. 12. Describe the narrator's experience as he flew the aeroplane into the storm. Answer. As the pilot narrator entered the storm, his plane started jumping and twisting. He could not see anything outside the plane as it was black. When he looked at the compass and other instruments, they had stopped functioning due to the storm. It was a terrible and fearsome experience for him. Q. 13. Why does the narrator say, I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota? Wasn't sorry to win away nom the Ota Dakota as he had a horrific experience flying that plane. Finally, he was happy that he had landed the plane safely. That is why he wasn't sorry to steer away. Q. 14. What made the woman in the control center look at the narrator strangely? Answer. The woman in the control center looked at the narrator strangely because the narrator asked her about the black aeroplane but she saw no plane except the narrator's plane in the sky during the storm. Even the radar showed only the narrator's plane in the sky that night. Q. 15. Who do you think helped the narrator to reach safely? Discuss this among yourself, give reasons. Answer. We know that there was no other plane in the sky that night, apart from the narrator's. This suggests that the narrator was hallucinating and there was actually no second pilot who helped him land safely. It was probably the narrator's own conscience that came to his aid in a difficult situation. His capability as a pilot guided him out of the storm and helped him reach safely. Q. Solar. Who was Annie Frank? Ans. Annie Frank, in full Anneliese Marie Frank, a Jewish girl whose diary of her family's 2 years in hiding during the German occupation of the Netherlands became a classic of war literature. Q. Satra. When did Annie Frank write her diary? Ans. On her birthday, Annie only wrote that she hoped that she would be able to entrust everything to her diary and that it would be a great support. The actual writing started 2 days after her birthday on the 14th of June 1942. Q. Athara. When was the diary given to Annie Frank? Ans. On the 12th of June 1942, Annie was given A for her 13th birthday. It was something she really wanted. Her parents let her to pick one out herself in a bookshop. Q. Unnis. What is a diary? Ans. A diary is a written or audiovisual record with discrete entries arranged by date reporting on what has happened over the course of a day or other period. Q. Bis. In which language did Annie wrote the diary? Ans. Annie wrote the diary in Dutch language. Q. Ikkis. What are the elders in Goa nostalgic about? Ans. The elders in Goa are nostalgic about the great old Portuguese days and their love for bread and loaves. The writer says that the eaters of loaves have left but the manufacturers still exist. Q. Bis. What are those bakers known in Goa? Ans. The bakers of Goa are known as padas. The thud and jingle of the traditional baker's bamboo are the signal of their arrival in the morning. Q. Teis. What does the thud and jingle of the traditional baker's bamboo indicate? Ans. It indicates the announcement of the arrival of the baker in the morning. Q. Chobis. How were the monthly accounts of the baker recorded? Ans. Monthly accounts of the baker were recorded on some wall in pencil. Q. Pachis. Where is Coorg located? Ans. It is situated midway between Mysore and the coastal town of Mangalore. Q. Chabbis. Which is the smallest district of Karnataka? Ans. Coorg is the smallest district of Karnataka. Q. Sattais. Why is Coorg compared to heaven? Ans. Coorg is compared to heaven because of its natural beauty. Q. Athais. How much rain does the area receive during the monsoons? Ans. The area receives heavy rainfall during the monsoons. September to March is the best time to visit Coorg. Q. Untis. Why do visitors keep away from the Coorg during the monsoon? Ans. The heavy rains pounding parts of Karnataka have kept away tourists who were until recently thronging monsoon tourism destinations to enjoy the pleasant showers. Q. Teas. What did Pranjol order for? Ans. Pranjol ordered for 2 cups of tea. Q. Iktis. Where were both the boys going to? Ans. The boys were going to Assam. Q. Battis. What was Pranjol doing? Ans. While sitting in the train, Pranjol read detective stories. Q. Tethis. What was surprising for Rajveer? Ans. Even Rajveer visited Assam first, yet he still had collected a huge amount of information for planting tea. Rajveer told him about the sprouting period of tea. Q. Chautis. What 2 crops did Rajveer see? Ans. He was amazed to see the soft green paddy fields first and then the green tea bushes. Q. Panthis. What experiment did Maxwell think Camus Ferner would be suitable for? Ans. Since his pet dog died, Maxwell was thinking of getting an otter as a pet. He thought Camus Ferner would be a suitable place for this experiment of raising an otter as a pet. Otters thrive in wet areas like marshes and need a place with lots of water. Camus Ferner was located very close to a body of water and hence Maxwell believed that it would be the ideal place to have an otter as a pet. Q. Chhattis. Why does he go to Basra? How long does he wait there and why? Ans. The writer went to Basra to collect and answer his mail from Europe. He had to wait there for 5 days as his mail did not arrive. Q. Sethis. Why was the otter named Maxwell's otter? Ans. The otter was named by zoologists as Lutrigale Paspacillata maxwelli. Hence, it was called Maxwell's otter, in short. Q. Arthis. How was Mijbil transported to England? Ans. As pets were not allowed on British Airlines, Maxwell author had to book a ticket on a different airline from Iraq to Paris and then Paris to London. As directed by the airlines, the author had to put Midge in a box that was not more than 18 inches square, to be carried on the floor at his feet. The author put Midge in the box an hour before his flight so that he could get accustomed to it. Q. Untalis. What did Midge do to the box? Ans. The box was lined with a metal sheet. Mitch didn't feel comfortable in the box and tried to escape. In his attempt to escape, Mitch tore into the metal lining of the box and in the process hurt himself. Q. Charlie's. What was Wally's favorite pastime? Ans. Wally's favorite pastime was standing in the front doorway of her house and looking at the street outside. Q. Iktali's. What was the source of unending joy for Wally? What was her strongest desire? Ans. The source of the underlying joy for Wally was the sight of the bus in her village. Her strongest desire is to ride the bus and make journey to the nearest town and return back. Q. Bayalis. What did Wally find out about the bus journey? How did she find these details? Ans. Wally found out that the bus journey to the town took 45 minutes and the two-way fare was 60 paise. She found out these details by listening carefully to the conversations between her neighbors and people who regularly used the bus and asked a few questions here and there. This way, she picked up every small detail about the bus journey. Q. Tetalis. Who was Gautam Buddha? Ans. The Buddha was a philosopher, mendicant, meditator, spiritual teacher, and religious leader who lived in ancient India. He is revered as the founder of the world religion of Buddhism, and worshipped by most Buddhist schools as the enlightened one who has transcended karma and escaped the cycle of birth and rebirth. Q. Chauvalis. How did Gautam Buddha help Kisa Gotami to understand that death is a part of one's life? Ans. Someone told her to talk to Buddha, who then asked her to procure a handful of mustard seeds. This raised hope in Gotami's heart that her son could be revived. But the condition imposed by Sakyamuni was that the seeds should be brought from a house where people had not lost a loved one to death. Kisa Gotami became weary and hopeless and realized that death is common to all. Q. Petalis. Why did Kisa Gotami go to Buddha? Ans. Finally, a person sends her to Buddha because he was sure that Buddha would help a poor woman to come to terms with her loss and grief. Buddha told Kisa Gotami to bring mustard seeds from a house where no one has ever died. Kisa Gotami went in search of the mustard seeds from a house from which no one ever died. Q. Artalis. Why does Chubukov suspect Lomov when he comes to his house? Ans. Seeing Lomov dressed formally, Chubukov suspected that Lomov had come to borrow money. He is not sincere when he says that he had always loved Lomov and treated him like his own son. He had decided that he would not lend any money to him. Q. Unchas. Why did Lomov go to the house of Chubukov? Ans. Lomov go to Chubukov house for an important work. Q. Pachas. What is the ailment that Lomov is suffering from? Ans. Since he was already 35 and not fit enough, Lomov was worried about his marriage. So, he agreed to marry Natalia because she would be the right wife for him to look after him.
और प्लीज़ हमारे चैनल को लाइक एंड सब्सक्राइब कर दीजिए।